All right, hello. Welcome to a lesson on multiple conditionals. So basically, we're going to start to build more complex conditional statements, is what we're covering in this lesson. Before we dive into that, I have just the basic conditional here. And the goal of this one is to scan the user's integer and then print out if it is 0, positive, or negative. So that's what was attempted in this program, but it's got some errors. So your job is to find the errors. Please note there is a curly brace down here. I just couldn't fit it on the screen here. So know that that is not one of the errors. Pause the video and see if you can find the errors. Okay, first one is because if is a control structure, you don't need these semicolons. They have an open and close brace, but not the semicolon part. So if the value is 0, then we should run the code between here, but we don't want a semicolon right there. So that's a first error. Another pretty hopefully straightforward one is that we need to prompt the user because they won't know to enter an integer or not here. So we need something like system.out.println, please enter an integer or something like that. So we need a line there that does that. Okay, and then the other one I would say that's pretty big on this is sort of one of 3 paths. Okay, so we can have a number that is 0, positive, or negative. And so we want it to be one of these 3 branches. So we should make that into a single if, else, if, then else. Okay, so what it should really look like is if it's 0, print 0, that's fine. Then we can say else if the number is greater than 0, then we want to print positive. All right, and then if it does not hit one of those 2 things, if it's not 0 and it's not above 0, then it has to be negative by default. Okay, so down here, we don't even want another if, right? You don't even need a condition, just do else, because we're guaranteed that it's negative at this point, so just print out negative. Okay, and then the problem with doing 3 separate ifs is potentially it could hit all 3 conditions and print out all 3 statements. Right? Doing it with an if, else will make sure that it's got one of 3 branches. Okay, and in theory, 3 ifs would possibly work in some situations, but I think conceptually it's better to do one of 3 paths. Okay, the way it was set up was kind of 3 separate paths that you may or may not go down. Right? Here's just one branch versus originally it was set up sort of like this. There was a branch, and there's another possible branch, then there was another possible branch. We'd go down one of 2 paths each time, and that's not really what we want here. We want it to go in one of 3 buckets, so we need just one split and then 3 possibilities, 3 possible outcomes. Okay, so we're going to talk about just more complex conditional statements today, and we're going to use and, or not, and I think this may have come up some in the last chapter, but basically, and in Java, you use ampersand, which I cannot draw to save my life. Maybe I'll copy it here in case I need it later. I cannot draw that to save my life. But or is line, and then not is an exclamation point. And so we can build more complex statements like, I don't know, if we get 40 kills and we make it to level 75, display some magic message saying the user is the greatest player ever, right? So we might use and in a conditional statement. Okay, so how they work is we're going to make these little truth tables, which every year when I do this, the students seem to think, Mr. West, this is pretty easy. Why are we even doing this, wasting our time with these truth tables? But as it gets more complex, you'll start to see why these truth tables are helpful. And on the AP test, oftentimes they have questions involving this that are kind of useful to make tables to understand. Right? So basically, we're going to have 2 statements, A and B, and individually they can either both be true, they can both be false, or A can be true, B can be false, A can be false, and B can be true. That's all that can happen. All right, and so if we do and, we're just going to say, well, A and B, when is that true and when is that false? So in order for that to be true, right, you could maybe pause the video and guess if you feel like you already know the answer, right? But it's basically both have to be true. So this one is true because they're both true. Here, neither one is true. And so this is true and false. And so if either one is false, it's going to default to false. Okay, so we only get true for the and when both statements are true. All right, let's do one with or quick. So we're going to start off with A and B, and it's going to be the same way. Same statement, sorry for the poor handwriting. But it's going to start off with true, true, false, false, true, false, and false, true. Not necessarily in that order, but as long as you get all 4 cases, you should be fine. Okay, now we're just going to do or. So we're going to do what happens when we do A or B. All right, and so either one can be true now. So here they're both true, so A or B is evaluated to true. Here neither of them are true, so that's false. And then here it's true or false. So since one of them is true, it counts. Similarly here, since one of them is true, it counts there. All right. So that's the truth table for or. And then the truth table for not is you just need a single statement to do not. So we're going to have some statement called A, and then not A, we're going to write with the exclamation point is just the reverse of that. So A could either be true or false. That's it. And not A, not surprisingly, would be just the reverse of it. So that's what the truth table for not is just reverses whatever it was previously. Okie dokie. Okay, so here's what it's going to look like on the AP test. So there might be something like, when is this crazy looking statement true? Okay, and there's like a ton going on here, right? So this is clearly harder than the ones we were doing. But the point is, if you build a truth table, you can figure out when is it true. All right, so what I mean by that is we're just going to take the little pieces and then build this big statement. Okay, so the pieces would be like right here, we need to know what A or B is. Okay, so we're going to make a truth table for A or B, and then we're going to do the not of that. So we're going to do not whatever we get in that previous column. Okay, and then we want to AND that with B. So we already have B right here, but we're going to AND these two together. Okay, so we're going to have, I'll write it over here, not A or B and B. All right, so again, maybe you could logically think about when this is true, but then you're smarter than me. So which is very possible. But at any rate, I would build this truth table. Okay, so we're going to build the little pieces and eventually get our statement. So when we OR them together, either one can be true. Okay, and you can see, you want to maybe pause it and see if you can do the rest of this. That'd be a good challenge for you. Okay, so we're going to not the previous column. So I'm just going to switch them all. Switch from false to true and true to false. Okay, and now we're going to take these two columns and so both have to be true. So this first one, they're not both true because this column is false. Here they're both false. So that one's not going to work. Here they are 1 true and 1 false. So that's going to be false. And then the last case is false and true. So that's also going to be false. So when is this statement true? It looks like that's basically never true. It's never true that not A or B and B is true together, right? So that's pretty complex, but if you break it down by steps in a little truth table, that's a way to answer that question. All right, so in class, when I do this, I usually have students stand if they fit these different conditionals. All right, so I'm going to have you walk through and just kind of think, would you stand, yes or no, for each one of these 3 statements? Okay, and then you can unpause the video and I'll talk you through them. All right, so for this one, it says if male or brown hair. Okay, so this would be anybody that is a male or has brown hair, either one of those, right? So brown-haired females would be up, standing up at this. Males with black hair, males with brown hair, males with red hair, any male would be really standing up. And I guess I should have probably added what we're doing here. Each of these you're going to, if that's true, you're going to stand up. I should have added that little code. Pretty handy Java code that can make a student stand up. I also need a Java code that can make a student sit down. That'd be even more useful. And be quiet. I'm just kidding. All right, so for the male and brown hair, all right, so this one you'd have to be both male and have brown hair. So there'd be certainly less people standing up here for this and, right? Less is going to make it through this if because, you know, you have to both of these to both have to be true to hit here. Okay, last one's an or, so in theory it should let a lot of stuff through because you can have glasses or you can have black hair or you can be uncool, right? So I would definitely be standing for this one because I have both glasses and I am uncool. So this line in front of it just again means not. Okay, so this if here again is if you have glasses or you had black hair or you're uncool. Any of those were true, then you would be standing up in this last case. Okay, so this is the idea is you're going to start to build more complex conditionals in your programs, and it's fairly challenging, but hopefully this got you an introduction to it.